Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, it's Dave from the How to Podcast series. I hope you're doing well. I am back outside again. Lots of stuff going on around the house. We have been dealing with a couple floods here at the house, and now I'm relegated to the backyard yet again to do the podcast. So I'm going to kind of hang out back here with you. You're going to hear a lot of different noises maybe in the background, but I apologize. But this is my studio right now. So welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us. We're going to be talking today about losing your co-host, and that also being could be a crisis event for you as a podcaster. And how do you navigate finding a new co-host, or replacing a co-host, or finding one in the beginning? Like some thoughts just around this and how stressful this can be for you as a podcaster. Glad you're here. So one thing I know is that my neighbors have no idea what a podcast is. I'm getting some really interesting looks over the fence. You know that show Home Improvement back in the day when the neighbor, all you could see was his eyes as he peeked over the fence? Yeah, that's kind of what's happening. Except for my one neighbor who decided this was the perfect time to take out the fence between their houses and replace it and give us a $1,500 bill on top of everything else, right? Good timing. So, yeah, it's been a really interesting week so far. We have electricians coming tomorrow, a new furnace coming tomorrow as well. And it's going to be a very interesting time as we navigate all of this. And there goes the fence. So trying to find a place to work has been a really tough thing to do as a podcaster. And I am understanding more and more how difficult it is to podcast when you don't have a dedicated space. You know, that space where you can go to all the time and it's always the same. That's what I've had for 8 years. And this is the first time that I'm moving around the backyard trying to find the quietest spot possible to record. So if that's you, I just want you to understand something. Podcasting doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be radio, thank goodness, because radio is dying. So I'm thankful that podcasting doesn't have to be radio quality. We can do the best with what we can, right? We don't have to be the most perfect version on the mic. And we just do what we can. We use the setup we have. We try to make it as clear as possible. And I'm trying to make this as clear as possible. I now have the internet, which is great. And I can do some tweaks to the audio to sweeten it up a little bit. But really, I'm using my phone. And that's the best I can do. So if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have the gear to start podcasting and you're using that as an excuse to not start, I hope this gives you some kind of inspiration for you to go, you know what, enough giving myself all the excuses. It's time to get started. And if you need help, how to podcast.ca, let's get together and chat. I'd love to talk to you about that. Before we go any further, I just want to share a clip from two guys who come to our meetups, Dave and Bill, super nice guys. Been doing these meetups now into our 4th year, and they're completely free. And they recorded their own thoughts about the meetup. I was not involved in any of this, scripting it or recording it, nothing. This was completely on their own that they did this, and I'm very grateful. But to hear their perspective on the meetups and what it means to them, here is Dave and Bill. I have a little clip here for you to hear about the meetups, and I'd love for you to come join us. Information in the show notes.
This episode got me thinking about something I've been doing almost every Saturday for the last several years now. Regarding real change taking longer than a weekend, I wanted to mention a podcast meetup run by a friend of the show, David Campbell. Rather than have Dave do a promo about it himself, I spoke with a fellow member of the group, Bill Monty.
I was so lucky to just stumble upon Dave's meetings. The first meeting, I knew this was different than other groups I had belonged to. First off, the other groups I had to pay to be in. And sometimes I was completely ignored, never asked a question or even acknowledged that I was part of a little 5-person group. And so this became something very different for me. And really it was someone tossing me a lifeline, because at that point I was just thinking about giving up podcasting. Dave uses the word community a lot. And that's exactly what we've built. We've built this little podcasting community of people who actually care for each other. There's no judgment. There's no sales. It's a great place to learn, and it's a great place to feel safe.
If you're looking for a podcast community that feels more like a long-term conversation than a weekend transformation, the easiest way to join is visit Dave's site, howtopodcast.ca, and scroll down to the meetup. It's free, and honestly, it's one of the few podcast groups I keep coming back to.
So, apart from like a natural disaster impacting your podcast, erasing your podcast studio, and forcing you to podcast from the backyard, there's other things that can happen on a podcast that maybe not so physically dramatic, but still have a big impact. One of those is losing your co-host. A co-host is a relationship that's built over time. And if you've been podcasting with this same co-host for a while, you kind of build a show around the dynamics of the two of you in the recording. And that dynamic is hard to copy. It's hard to make another version of that. And I've seen that with the new media show with Todd and Rob, and Todd had passed away, and now Rob is trying to carry it on by himself. And No Agenda show, John C. Dvorak, and he passed away recently. So now that show is kind of like struggling to find his feet. A co-host is the salt and pepper. Right? We go together really well, and we both find our spots, and we complement each other really well. It's hard to find somebody else who complements you. I think that's the biggest struggle. So I would suggest, first of all, when you think about finding a replacement co-host for your show, that you try to find somebody that you can have a relationship with and that you can feel comfortable with and that you feed off each other. That's going to be the first thing to think about. That's the one thing on the New Agenda show. The No Agenda show is that Adam and John, they never were social with each other, really. They hardly ever talked off mic in social context. They only talk to each other on the recording, which is very interesting. Where other podcasts, they do life together. They know each other. They know their families. They know their partners, and they know their struggles and everything off the mic. So there's a different ways of doing this. Not one way is the right way or the wrong way. But I do find that the podcasts that I've talked to and the podcasters, when they find a co-host, they really do spend more time together off mic than they do on mic. And so one of the things that we do in music is you can find like the best musician who can do everything. Like they're just amazing. Like Eddie Van Halen on guitar, or, insert your favorite musician here. They just can do it all. But they have the social skills of a snail. They're not fun to talk to. They're not great in a group setting. They are fine on their own, but they don't really mix well with the team, with the group, with the band. And we've auditioned band members in the past, and they're outstanding, but they don't have any social ability at all. And one of our measuring sticks as a band, I've been doing music for 46 years, we want to do the van test. What is this person going to be like in a van for 12 hours straight? And the van stinks, and we're all tired, and we're all exhausted, and we're all annoyed with each other. How does this person fit into the mix in the van test? And that's what I would love to ask you. When you are picking a co-host, you could pick the best podcaster, the smartest person, the expert among experts, but put them in a van for 12 hours. And how are you going to get out of the van alive? Or how are you going to survive a long road trip with this person if you were forced to do so? It could be that you meet them at a conference and you're with them for 2 days straight and you podcast remotely, but you're with them for 2 days. Can you stand to be in the same room with this person? Like, that's one of the tests. Now, granted, a van test can also backfire where you do need somebody who's different than you as a podcaster. And having that difference of opinion or approach or style or tone or mood actually makes things better and more interesting. Because the worst thing for co-hosted at podcast is when you and the co-host have all the same opinions, you agree on everything. Blue is your favorite color for both of you. Your favorite song is such and such. And you'd never disagree on anything. Really, when you have two podcasters co-hosting together and they agree on everything, one of you is irrelevant. It really is, because there's no dynamics there. You need a little bit of gentle push and pull. Gentle, loving feedback and counterpoints always make the podcast more interesting for the audience. So think about that. What are you looking for in your show? Do you want an agreeable person sitting across from you who just rubber stamps everything you say, or do you want somebody who push back and say, I don't agree with that. I don't see it that way. I see it differently. I think for the audience, they kind of like a different side of the opinion. So keep that in mind. One thing I find interesting, just a little side tangent about political shows. I'm not a political person, is all I really. I'm quite annoyed by the whole thing. But political shows seem to talk to the same audience who already believes in what you're talking about. They're not trying to convert anybody. They're just trying to reinforce the people who actually agree with what they agree with. And in that, you have basically the podcaster is preaching to the choir, as we would say. And they're not converting anyone. They're not bringing anybody into the show to change their beliefs or give them new insights. They're just stirring the pot with the people who already agree with them. And the people who listen to the show, they already believe the things that they believe. I love having somebody on who doesn't believe what I believe, who doesn't see the world the way I see it, hasn't grown up in the same situations that I've grown up in, because they have a different perspective. And that different perspective opens the door for conversation. Having conversations is the idea behind podcasting. So when you're thinking about a co-host, don't just go with somebody who looks like, sounds like, talks like, acts like, comes from the same part of the world that you do, believes what you believe, agrees with everything you say. That's boring. That is really boring for a premise for a show. Have somebody on who's completely different. Now, I'm not an American, so I don't do American politics at all, and I really find it quite amusing to watch Americans wrestle with politics. But if you had two opposing sides who podcasted together on topics of the day, instead of one side and the other side having their own separate show, I actually, as a non-political person, might enjoy that, because now I'm getting the two people duking it out over a topic. And even though you don't agree, you can still show that we can still have a civil discourse and still have a conversation with somebody who doesn't think like us. And at the end of the day, grab a coffee or a beer and hang out and still be friends. I think that's what we need in the world today, instead of two people who both agree the same thing, throwing hand grenades over the fence at the other side and just causing crap. I'd much rather have a discourse than a bashing session. So if you're thinking about starting a political show or something controversial, instead of having two people who agree on everything, maybe it's a good idea that you get somebody who doesn't agree with you and have them on the show. If you don't have a co-host, have somebody on your show that sees the world differently than you do. Why not? So I've grown up in a pretty traditional home here in Canada. And on my Living in Next Chapter show, I've had trans people on the show. I've had people from the LGBTQ community on the show. I've had people who have come from some very different parts of the world who have not had my lived experience, and having them on my show has taught me things and made me a better human being. I could only have people like me on my show, a white guy in his 50s, or I could bring on people who need to share their voice and need an outlet, and my show can be that for them. And it's funny because I've had people come on the screen with me for a free chat, and they look at me and go, "Oh no." They think they already predetermined what I believe and who I am just by what I look like on the screen. But we have some of the best conversations, and these people have been turned into friends, not just guests. So that's always been my guide. Treat your guests like they are your listener, because when you do so, you're going to show up differently for them. So keep that in mind. So what happens when you lose your co-host? Like, they leave. What do you do? When a co-host leaves your show, it's pretty traumatic. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that's a relationship. That's the same as a dating relationship, a marriage. There's a grieving period that's going to happen for you. I would suggest that you You talk with your audience, you let them know what's going on, and you take some time. Don't jump into something. Don't find a replacement the next day. That's not how this works. You need to grieve, and you need to realize how the show has changed. For some people, the show is so dramatically different that it doesn't survive. And that's okay. It's okay to say goodbye to the show as it was and start something new. Remember, just because you start a podcast doesn't mean you're going to do that same podcast for the rest of your natural life. Things change. You might be done with the topic as well at the same time that your co-host leaves. Then keeping it going with a replacement co-host might not be the right choice. It might be time to let the show go and be okay with that. I can tell you this, that if you keep creating content in a similar vein, even with a new show, your audience, the majority of them, are going to come with you because of who you are and the routine of having you a part of their day. I've talked about this on this show. There's one listener from my podcast, this show, who listens to the How to Podcast series, and he told me, I'm never starting a podcast, ever. Like, that's not why I'm listening to your show. I don't care about the content, basically, what he was saying. And I'm like, that's rude. But the second part really caught me because he said, you could talk about anything, Dave, and I would listen to your show. And he listens to my other shows. He said, I just like that you show up on my phone all the time and that I get to hear your voice. I feel like I know you, even though we've never met. And I'd listen to you talk about anything. You talk about gardening, I'd listen to your show. I don't care. I just like you. So when your co-host leaves and you're making that decision about what to do next, it might be time just to end the show. It might be. That's not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of change. And your audience might just come with you. So don't be afraid to make a change if you need to. It's the perfect time to reevaluate your commitment to the show and the idea of the show before you go out and try to find somebody and convince them to join you, because it's not going to be the same. So you've decided you're going to keep going with your show and you want to replace your co-host. What are a couple of questions you should ask them before you invite them in? Again, my caution to you is don't commit to anything right off the bat. Don't say yes to somebody who shows interest just because you want to fill an empty seat. That's no reason to have somebody be a co-host on your show. Your show, remember, is for an audience. It's not for you. So you're making a decision on behalf of the audience. Yes, it's uncomfortable that your podcast is on hold while you try to find a replacement, but if you rush into this, you're going to make a mistake. So I would suggest that you do kind of some guest co-hosting where you bring other people in for 1 or 2 episodes and just try it out. See if the show will continue. You could have listeners come on as guests and talk about the show and what it means to them. Maybe that's what fills your cup. But I would tell you to spend a few months, 2 months, 3 months, depending on how many episodes you do a week or a month, and have other people on. And give yourself some time to think and breathe before you jump into the next phase, the next chapter of your podcast. This will give you some time to think through it and to come up with better choices. So have some guests on, go through that process with them. That's really going to help you. And I guess the other part too is just don't try to replace the person that's left with somebody like them. That's pretty hard to do. You and I both know that we are unique people and there's nobody else like us. So to find the exact copy of us is pretty well impossible. And you're going to see that on television shows, in bands. When one person leaves, they try to replace them with somebody who looks like, sounds like, acts like, same charisma, same way of carrying themselves. It never really seems to work. Look at Van Halen. I love Van Halen. David Lee Roth, and then Sammy Hagar, and then just the changes that happen. Gary Cherone from Extreme. It's sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the one thing that's a common thing is it's the same band. It's the same basic musician setup, and it's the same audience. But every time that somebody comes and goes, unfortunately, the audience who felt connected to that band leaves. You look at Rush right now; they have a female drummer playing with him instead of Neil. So Neil's passed away. So some people came for Neil. They didn't come for her. And like, what a tough spot to fill when people are expecting one person and you're the replacement, right? Same thing for co-hosted podcasts. Your co-host is going to walk into a community, maybe brand new, net new. Nobody knows them and they don't know the community. And the community might revolt. The community might not accept them. Like some of your community might leave because they liked the other half of your co-hosted podcast. It might not be you, it might be them. That they like the other person. So it's going to be interesting. Just treat it carefully. Don't rush. And recognize that this is a crisis moment for your podcast. And you need to make the right decision, not the quickest decision. And by making the right one, your audience is going to love you for it and stick around. Some might leave, but they might come back. Just keep going. And again, like I said, if it's time to stop the show, that's not failure. That's a new chapter for you. See it as a promotion, not a demotion. If you have any questions, howtopodcast.ca. I'd love to chat with you. And if you're looking for co-hosts, maybe I have somebody I can recommend. But yeah, make the right decision. Take your time. It's not a race. The right decision takes time. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for listening to the entirety of the episode, including this part. You know what? A lot of people leave right now. So we'll let them leave. Give them a second to go. Okay, now it's just you and me. We have our meetups that we do for the How to Podcast series. We do them during the week, and we also do them on Saturdays. So twice a week, you have the opportunity to meet other podcasters, just like you. Some people have just started. Some people haven't even released an episode yet. Some have been doing it forever. And we get together and talk podcasting. We want to help you in community to continue with your show, to start your show, to grow your show. So come and meet listeners of this show in one space on meetup.com. Again, through howtopodcast.ca, you'll see the links. It's completely free to join. Come whenever you have an opportunity to come. There's no commitment. You don't have to sign any waivers. You can just come join us. Come join the conversation. We'd love to have you there because the only thing that's going to make these meetups better is you being there. So I'm hoping you will say yes. And you'll say, Dave, I'm tired of podcasting by myself. I wish there were people I could connect with that are fellow podcasters and share my frustrations with guests who ghost me and my editing software is crapping out on me and I'm just having this hard time. I'm just having a hard time coming up with podcasts, episodes and titles and all the things and social media. Wouldn't it be great to get in a room with other podcasters and share best practices and learn? 3 of our 4 Saturdays every month are themed. So you have a topic, but that last Saturday of every month is open question and answer. Ask anything. Come meet a podcaster. Come enjoy the podcasting community through howtopodcast.ca. Come to our meetups. Can't wait to see you there. You're still here? Great. Okay, well, this is a little extra at the end. Again, I apologize for the sound quality. It's the best I have with what I have right now in the backyard. When we talk about our podcast and community, the one thing I would say, I had a podcaster who's working on a community right now, and it's just new, and they only have a handful of people in their community. But the dynamics of the community is starting to scare them a little bit. They're like, what have I got myself into by creating this community? And I have my meetup group, which again is available at meetup.com. And we've been going for 4 years now. And we've had some ups and downs. We've had some people come, some people go, some people angry, some people happy. It's like having your own little town and you're the mayor. Not only are you the mayor of the town and you have to go find people to move to your town, you also have to build the town. You have to do all the infrastructure. You have to have policing. You have to have security and safety. And you have to have places for people to hang out. And you have to have regular meetings. You have to do all this town halls. You got to do everything. You got to promote it. You got to get people interested in your town, in your community. And as a mayor of my meetup group, we have like a WhatsApp group for the group. And that's part of the town. We have the meetups, which happen Tuesdays and Saturdays. That's part of the town. It's your commitment to the town. It's, again, planning out all the events, organizing the group, disciplining people, encouraging people, removing people. Like, it's not easy. So don't be in a hurry to set up this community because you're inheriting a town. So don't think you need to start a community day one of your podcast. Unless you have the bandwidth to do so, take your time and invest it in your podcast first, and then add the community aspect later. Because it's hard to do both at the same time when you first start. I didn't. I had my podcast going for 4 or 5 years before I even started my show, my podcast community. So take your time, build the podcast first. And as the need arises, then it's time to look at maybe creating a community. If you have any questions about that, and you need to just chat about podcast communities, again, you can reach out to me, howtopodcast.ca. And if you want to see a podcast community in action, again, you heard from Bill and Dave earlier about the meetup group. Thanks to them for that clip. But if you want to meet these amazing people, you want to be a part of a free community that doesn't sell you anything, I'd love to have you come and investigate, poke around, steal my ideas. And if you need help implementing, let me know. I'd love to help you. And I'd love to be a part of your community as well and support you as a member of your community. Always looking for that. We need more of this in podcasting. Howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow.